Alright, today we're going to look at how to work with Ableton's Multiband Dynamics processor and use it to polish off a live drum mix. So I've got a live drum mix pulled up in Ableton here. You see I've got some overheads, some left and rights, my room, my snare, my kick, my floor tom, my hats, etc. So we've got a full live drum mix here. And if you look at the signal chain of these individual tracks, you'll see there's already been a decent amount of processing applied to them. So we spent some time on our individual mix already. I'm just scrolling through these here. Let's take a listen to the effect this processor has on my mix. I'll go ahead and start by bypassing it and then activate it and bypass it again so you can start to hear the difference. Now this processor can look a bit intimidating if you haven't used it before, but the design is simple. You basically have a 3-band compressor, and each band range is contingent upon frequency. So for your high and low ranges, you have a frequency parameter that you can adjust. And then basically your mid band is everything in between. So for example, my high band is set to a frequency of 329, and this is just telling me that all frequencies 329 Hz and up will be contained in my high band for processing. Also my low band, which is deactivated right now, I just didn't need it, but it's set to a setting of 98.3 Hz. So basically for this low band, if it was active, all frequencies 98 Hz and below would be contained in this low band. Now soft knee is what you would expect. It just makes the compression approach more gradual. And then RMS and peak, the main difference between those two is that peak is more sensitive than RMS. The input section allows you to determine the volume of each band before being processed. And then you have your visual interface over here, and this is great for visual feedback of your compression. So if we scroll to the right here, we have this control box, and we have 3 blocks underneath it with the letters T, B, and A. T stands for time, which refers to your attack and release settings for each band. And then B stands for below threshold, and A stands for above threshold. The B block allows for upward compression, while the A block allows for downward compression. The difference between downward and upward compression is this. Downward compression takes louder sounds and makes them quieter, and upward compression takes quieter sounds and makes them louder. But essentially both reduce the dynamic range of an audio signal. We're going to focus on block A, downward compression, as that's the most common form of compression. So if I look at my control box here, you'll see I have my threshold in dB in yellow for each band, and then I have my ratio in orange for each band. So if we solo out this high band, we can see the effect these parameters have on my sound. If I go down on my threshold, you can see more of my input is above threshold now, and therefore more of that coarse sound is being compressed. As I go up on my threshold, the effect is just the opposite, less compression. The ratio determines the amount of compression that gets applied to signals above threshold. So as I increase my ratio, you can hear there's more compression. And as I decrease my ratio, there's less compression. So if we look at this visual representation again, you'll notice that only the highest peaks on my input source for this high band are going into threshold.
And that's basically my snare. My hi-hat is riding under threshold, so therefore it's not getting compressed. But you'll see when my snare hits, bam. So essentially, I've set my parameters up here just to tame my snare a bit and put it more in pocket. Now if we look at my mid-band, you'll notice the same thing. Only my loudest peaks are exceeding threshold and therefore getting compressed. So this is a great way to go in and tame some of those louder parts in your passage. And separating these bands just gives you more flexible control. So that's been a look at working with Ableton's Multiband's dynamic processor and how to use it to really make a live drum mix gel together. My name is Slick Nixon, and check us out at siliconbeats.com.